Hey, hello, hi, and welcome back to the SobeLife Skoolie channel. I'm Robert Sobe. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much. If you are not, I hope I can earn your subscription today. Anyway, I just want to, before I start here, just say thank you to everyone that subscribed. We've hit 17 subscribers. I think at the rate I'm going, I'll be at 20 by the end of this week. And that's awesome. Like, it hasn't even been 2 weeks and I've already got almost 20 subscribers. I'm thrilled. It feels so good to know that there are people out there that want to watch me do what I'm doing. So again, thank you for that. Got a special thing planned when I hit 100, so let's get to 100. Today I got elbows in the mail, so I can finally get to work on some of this plumbing. I want to get Pex run all the way from where the water tank is to where the sink will be and the shower. Come along with me and let's get this job done. Before I get started here, I've got to do some cleanup, so just figured I'd show you guys. This is the stained panels from the last episode. They've been sitting here drying for a couple days and they are looking good. Yeah, that looks great. I actually really like these dark spots over here. The plumbing's running from over here through the wall. That's our hot water heater. So it's going to run to that, and then past that, the shower goes here. So I've got some cleanup. I've got to move this oven. I've got to move these wood panels. But yeah, it'll go here. There'll probably be a run up to the shower head, which still haven't determined yet. So I'll probably just put some T's somewhere in here that it will run up. We'll see. So I've got to do something with those panels I stained, so I'm going to just reinstall them in the place they go. They're not finished staining. I still have to stain the backside, but for now they need somewhere to stay, and I don't want them in my way. I don't want to like bump into them or scratch them with my feet or anything. It'll be cool to see because I'll be able to see the contrast between this color and the stained color. Look at that. Already looking pretty good. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's see if I can get both colors here. Yeah. So if you're watching and you see this, let me know what you think. Do you like the unstained or the stained version? I really like the stained version, and I've got a whole gallon of this stain, so I will probably stain a lot of it. But I mean, I'm open to not. So we'll see what happens. So here's my plumbing diagram. I've looked up a lot of stuff on it and kind of wanted to draw my own. So I'll start at the beginning here. So we have the water tank, which will have this is city water, this is the water tank. So if I'm at somewhere where I can hook up to water, I can fill up the tank through here. It won't go this way, there'll be a separate thing linking to the tank. Anyways, this is the pump and filter. So basically there's a filter that goes before the pump to prevent any particulates from damaging the pump. That gets attached to the pump. Got an elbow here. This is the accumulator tank. Basically what this does is it holds pressure so you constantly get the same amount of water pressure. Because the pump works in bursts, whereas when you turn on the faucet you don't want dit when the water comes out. So this will keep it at a constant steady stream. Then we have one-way fittings. These prevent water from going the opposite direction. So Again, I've got pump going into the accumulator tank, going one way. So the pump can only pump water this way. The reason that's here is because I've got city water too, and if I want to be hooked up to city water and not using the water in my water tank, you don't want the city water to pump backwards through your pump. So I've got a one-way here and then a T. And then here's the city water. I've got a one-way going in that way. So we have water coming from both directions, but they cannot go out. Now next is the main shutoff, which will just be a big turn valve. And then another T. This is just the cold spigot. So, you know, you got cold water coming, it goes through here or through here, sent to your sink and shower. The T here leads to the water heater. So cold water goes in, hot water comes out. I'll have a main hot shutoff. So we have a cold and hot water line. There's a T going up to the shower for both cold and hot. Elbows going to the sink with shutoff valves for both the shower and the sink. That's the plan anyways. Now it's time to execute. The water tank is in, but it is not permanently installed. This is still loose. I haven't screwed it in yet because I need to spray foam insulation all the way down here. There's this rib, and I want to insulate everything so the tank does not experience any freezing. This is generally the area where the pump and accumulator will live. I haven't exactly figured out the layout for that yet, but that doesn't matter. We're not worrying about the plumbing here yet. What we're worrying about today is the plumbing going through the walls to the sink and the shower. This is my city water inlet. This is where you would hook up to get water just directly to your appliances. This is the tank fill inlet, so this will have a hose running down to the tank somewhere in the top to fill the tank. This is an air hose to let air in or out of the tank as you are using water from the tank. And this is the one-way valve, so this prevents water from going out. And this is where the city water and the tank water will meet. So we're not worrying about this right now, but when I get the pump hooked up, this is where the pump will go. Now if I scoot over, I've got more PEX running to another T, and this T will branch down to the water heater. So I want to get that done today. Get some, either just like a tube of PEX running out of that T going down here, and then get another red PEX running up and get a separate water line running for the hot water. We will run it all the way across to here. This is where the shower will go, and keep going to here. And this is where the sink will be. I just wanted to say this to the camera instead of from behind the camera. I know there are a lot of YouTube Skoolies out there, or even Instagram or TikTok, and they really glorify the work, and all their photos, like even the construction photos, look pretty. When you're building this and you don't know what you're doing, it's gonna be a mess. Like you can see, it's a work zone. I've got, you know, lumber and all this stuff. I'm just trying to give everyone a realistic view of what this is like, especially if you're working towards learning it all. Some people might want to clean up after every job. For the sake of efficiency and the sake of, not wasting my energy, I don't clean up very much because I'm going to end up cleaning it all up again and again and again. I guess I'm just trying to say, excuse the mess. The mess just means progress. Okay, so the first order of business is getting water down into this water tank, or excuse me, the hot water tank, hot water heater, and it basically screws on over here, and that creates something for the PEX to go into. You're supposed to use pipe thread sealing tape. It's a plumber's tape. The correct way to do this, I believe, is you're tightening this righty-tighty. So you think about, you're going to wrap this stuff around the threads. You have to think about when this gets turned, is it going to tighten the tape onto it or loosen it? You want it to tighten it, not make it come undone. So we're going to go righty-tighty with the tape. Just break it. There. And that should create a watertight seal around this, which I will now have to tighten with a pair of pliers. Okay. All right, so now I have to run PEX from here to here. So I bought these elbows, and my thought was I could just run a small piece of PEX here to the elbow, and then run one straight down to the water. And the cool thing about these shark bite fittings is they can rotate pretty much freely after they're installed, and it doesn't leak. I guess what I'll do is I'll measure from here to the edge of this 5 inches. So 5 inches of PEX plus I also need to account for the depth of this piece, because the PEX is going to go inside of this and lock. And I believe it's like 1 inch. This is a Pex tool that you use to deburr and mark your PEX before you cut it. I've got this loose piece of PEX here and this deburring tool, and what you do is you put it in here, and there's little blades, and you're supposed to twist it, and it removes any burrs from the PEX. But then what you're also supposed to do is take a pen or a marker and mark the depth. And then when you put it through into one of these shark bite fittings, as long as you get up to that line, you know you've installed it correctly. So it's just a little under 1 inch. So we'll call it 1 inch. Luckily I've got some extra PEX, so I'm going to cut 1 to 6 inches, and then I'll kind of hold it up here and see how that looks. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut a piece of PEX here. I've already got a scrap piece that I'm going to try and use for this small 6-inch cut. And I just wanted to show you guys a couple different options for cutting PEX. This is a razor blade PEX cutter, and you can see it's got a razor blade, it's got this lever, great place to chop a finger off, don't do that. And I hate this thing. This thing sucks. I'll show you why I hate it, but what I've been using instead is a sharp pair of big wire cutters. This is what I use to cut the heavy gauge wire for my battery bank. It does a really good job. It does leave a little burrs, which is why I have that other tool for deburring the PEX. What you're supposed to do with this is find your line, draw your line on this, and then you're just supposed to line up your line with the blade inside, and you put it in like that, and then the arrow is the direction that you're supposed to rotate. So you rotate it the direction of the arrow, and you can see there's another arrow on the other side, and you're just supposed to go around a couple times until it cuts through. And wow, that actually worked really well. My problem with this in the past is that I'd go to cut it, and if it's not perfectly parallel, or not parallel, adjacent to the blade, like a perfect 90-degree angle, then it would cut like a spring. It would just like keep cutting and cutting and cutting because it's cutting at an angle. Now, you can see that cut does look pretty good. They did say, everything I read online said to use a very sharp razor blade, and that's pretty good compared to this end. And this end is an end I cut with the wire cutters. All I did with this was line up my line and cut. It's not quite as clean as you'd want it to be. Come on. But that's what this is for. You're supposed to use this every time you cut, no matter what you use, either side. But you put it in the 1/2 inch side. You twist it. So I twist it and I push down while I'm twisting. And you can kind of see it shaving off the edge there. And that's supposed to create a nice edge for the fitting to grab onto. And I'll go ahead and mark at 6 inches. Okay. Hopefully it works. Do a twist. Yeah, so it's giving me this problem. Oh. Alright. And this is why I don't like this thing. Because you can see it cut it at an angle. Yeah, no, that's just... Alright, scrap that. Good thing I've got a spare piece here, so let's see. There's some marks on there, which means that I did have a fitting on this at one point. So I'm just gonna cut that off. Try and get a clean cut here. And also what I've been doing is just taking it and kind of, if it's not a perfectly square cut, just kind of shaving bits off until it's just about good, and then I can put it through that little Pex tool. We're really going to find out once it's warm enough to actually pump water, but for now, I think that'll do. And we'll just cut on the mark. Ta-da! And there's my 6 1/4 piece. So, just looking at that, if that's right there, and then I have a elbow, which will also be just about that deep, that's going to be more than enough room for this. Okay, so just got it pushed all the way in, go all the way around with a pen. You take the Pex, you take the elbow, or you take whatever fitting, the shark bite fitting, and you put it in. And sometimes they don't like to go in all the way. And then you press, and you press firmly, and make sure you get all the way down to that line you drew. So the same thing with this end. It'll go in and go all the way in. You kind of have to push hard, but once you got it, it's not coming out. 11 inches. I've got my piece cut. We'll put it in here, and we'll mark the spot. And we'll pop it in. Come on, there we go. And that should be good, and then I should just be able to... Come on, there we go. So there's that. So we have this tea. Got the hot, or I'll have the cold water coming through here. I'm gonna have to drill a hole through this stud for the pipe. I'm also going to have hot water coming through here. So I'll have to drill 2 holes next to each other so the Pex hot and the Pex cold can run alongside each other. And this wall, I don't believe there's anything there. What I'm going to do instead, so the Pex will run through here, hot and cold, and then I'll have a T that sends the hot water and the cold water up into this corner for the shower head at the top. So before I can run the Pex, I have to drill holes for the Pex to go in. So I've got this, what is it, 1.5 inch hole saw. I might have actually have a smaller one, but I'm going to drill 2 holes, one for hot, one for cold. And then again here, one for hot, one for cold. And then we'll be in business. I have to avoid these screws that are holding the studs into the wall. So I think what I'll do is I'll put the first one here, and then, oops, I'll put the first one here just below the screw, and then I'll probably measure, I don't know, like a 1/2 inch or an inch between the two, just so there's enough structure to hold them. And wear eye protection. Okay, got all covered in sawdust here, but that's a nice looking hole. You know what, let's give it like 1.5 inches. So we'll go from the bottom here. 1.5 inches is right there. So we'll put the hole right where that X is. So now I'll go ahead and drill the corresponding holes on this side, and just to keep everything straight and uniform, I'll measure to the center here. And that first one from the top is about 3 1/8 of an inch to the center of the hole. So I'll make my mark here, 3 1/8, and that's where my hole is. Alright, so I'm taking a look at my diagram here, and I already realized that I messed up. So shame on me. I wanted a main shutoff valve before the water heater, and I failed to install that. So I guess I have to correct this problem. So let's figure out where I'm putting the main water shutoff. So comparing this to my design, the main water shutoff should be right here, because we'll have water coming in from the city, water coming in from my pump. If I want to shut off all of it, it goes right there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to measure this. And it's about 3 inches. Now, we're going about 1 inch in for each one, which means that I have to cut 1 inch off, and then the shark bite should just go in. That. There we go. Now you push tight. There we go. So now, this T will go here to send cold up to the shower head. So I've got to cut this right there. Okay. It's as easy as that. So, for my hot water, it's going to come up and go, we're going to have an elbow like this one. It'll start lower because the hot water is going to run below the cold water here. And what I'm going to do is I'll have the elbow, and then it'll go here, and then I'll have the shutoff for the hot water right here. So unfortunately the time lapse got cut short because I ran out of room on the camera. I need to clear out the SD card, but I did delete some stuff so I can show you guys this here. We've got hot water going down. There's the cold water. I've actually just kind of loosely attached it to the tank for now, or the heater. This is actually surprisingly rigid and sturdy once it's attached to something. So, but anyways, I ran the line all the way to here. I'm going to install that T. Okay, so I did have to go to the hardware store. I went ahead and grabbed a new T connector for the hot water because I realized I was missing one, just was short one. And I also got the threaded fitting for the hot water output on the hot water heater. So I'm going to wrap this up. And then I'm going to put in a few panels of insulation while I still have daylight. I've still got a couple hours here at the bus, so let's get to it. You can see I've got the fitting on there on both hot and cold. There's the hot, there's the off for the hot, the off for the cold. And the PEX runs across. Got these two T's here for the shower. That will be going up. And it runs all the way over here. Got both hot and cold for the sink. So for now, that's enough plumbing until I can decide exactly what I'm doing with the shower heads and till I understand what I need to do for the sink. I've been kind of waiting to get this plumbing done before I could insulate. Now I know where the plumbing is in the wall, so go ahead and insulate everything around. The biggest spot that I want to insulate is I want to cover this metal because this is connected to the frame of the bus, which means if it's cold outside, that metal is just as cold as it is outside, and I don't want that cold temperature anywhere near my plumbing. Well, the sun is setting here on another day, and I gotta get home. I gotta eat some food, and I'll be back here in a couple days. Unfortunately, I was not able to finish all of the insulation, mainly due to the going back and forth between the house and the bus and then the hardware store again. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching. If you watched it all the way to this point, I really appreciate it. Those people that do watch it, you're really making it worth it for me to do all this editing and working on it. Anyways, have a great night, peace out, and I'll see you next time.